Hello YouTube, welcome to the channel. Today I will be doing a how I video as I put in some K&R custom signals. And welcome to the channel. If you have not, please subscribe. And at the end of this, hit the like button. Thank you very much. Alright, you may want to know who and what are K&R signals. Uh, this is a single head streetlight signal from K&R Customs. It is 3D printed. The electronics are in the bottom. The wires go from underneath. So you can hook them up to your layout. As you can tell, I'm using Gargraves and Ross Track. So when you let them know what are you using, I'm using, as you can see in the background, a DZ1000 switch machine on this one. And they have the electronics for the DZ1000 2500s, also the other things as far as line L MTH. You just let them know what you're doing and they will get them for you. Some other things that they have are, as you can see here, are the dwarf signals. If you've seen some of my videos later, earlier I should say, I had the dwarf signals on the layout, and actually one was right here where the signal head was at, and it was prototypes, and I was seeing what was how they worked. So you can see that video if you look back into the archives. And also, this is how the information comes. It tells you how to wire them up. With the dwarfs, it comes with three: one for your main line, and then the diverting lines on the other end. As you can see, it gives you complete wiring diagram that comes with it, and it tells you how to wire them up off your switch machine. The other thing is the signal bridge. So they have a signal bridge. This one actually has the Pennsylvania heads on it, and they have different alternatives, different things you may want or how you may want them for your layout. And like I say, they are custom, so you can get them as long or as you need them for if you've got 4 or 5 tracks going across, and however you want your signals to be, because they are custom, so they do them the way you want them. And like I said, and you see the base, the electronics are in the base, and it tells you how those are wired up. All right, this is the signal that I ordered. I had made for my layout. As you can see that they are lined up over the double tracks. As let's look, this is the north end of my crossover, and on the signal bridge you can see the two lights on the bottom. That's the dwarf that tells the direction of the switch, and the top lets you know that the track is occupied, which the red, yellow, and green, and that is for both sides. And also you can see on the other end there's another one, and on what I have done is I connected them together, so that when train comes in on the other end, the signal will indicate that the track is occupied, even though coming through to this end, and also on the other end. So when the train comes through on the track to the right, the signal will trip and it'll show that it's occupied on that end coming to this way. So it goes both ways. And the way I did it, I didn't do the isolation track all the way through. I just did a clip on one end and also on the other end. Then I connected the wires. The reason I did that is because I want to have as much connection for current as I can, and you'll see that in the other section of this video. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is prepare the signal to be installed. Where I'm installing it It's hard to get to, so I need the wires long enough so I can reach underneath and connect them to the existing wires. So I'm going to do that, extend the wires on these, and then we'll go from there. Very important. Once you extend your wires, retest them and make sure that when you added your extensions that you have a good connection. And if you can see that, they're in the test mode, so they are good ground. So we'll do a quick test on one. Went to red, back to yellow, now to green. Okay, welcome back. So next we need to prepare the track. So how do we prepare the track? So you have on the directions it asks for an insulated piece of rail. I already have insulated piece of rail. I need to solder my wire back onto it. At one time I had the non-derailing switches hooked up. So when you have non-derailing, you do a track isolated piece of rail, goes back to your switch machine. When it hits this, it throws the switch. So if you don't have them, this is how you isolate it. You cut, I use Gargraves tracks. Cut a gap on one side and on the other. Some people do the whole rail. I just want to, do a short section. Like I said, it was just for the switch, so I don't have to cut anymore. Now I'm gonna solder this onto the side, and it goes down, and it will hook to my wires on the signal, which will let you know that this is occupied on this side. Nothing major, just as long as you tack it. There you go, that one's there. So I also have one already here, and that'll be for this track. And it's already wired in and goes to the bottom. And this one's wired in and goes there. And you see it's cut here, cut there. And it's outside of the switch, so I didn't cut the switches. I cut the tracks right next to the switch. So that's how you prepare your track there for that. And of course, double check your wires and make sure you didn't cut the track that you have your only ground on. With Gargraves track, these tracks are actually wood ties, so they do not connect underneath. So if you're using other tracks like fast track, there's directions for that. You pull the track, turn it over, disconnect the connecting wires because they connect both sides. These do not, so every so often you'll see where I have a ground on one side and one on the other to connect the tracks. So when I cut it, that's isolated. It does not ground to either side. That's a good way to have ground all the way through your track and to make sure you have connections for it. That's what I do. And then to make connections, and don't forget, we will clean the track later before we run this to make sure things work. Okay? All right. Let's get the signal and we'll go from there. Okay. I put hose in the layout next to the switch, and you see the first time I did it's too close. I used, if you can see this, 1/2 inch paddle to make the hose. I guess you say, why make it that big? But like I said, when you extend your wires, make sure I put it in the right holes here. Goes through quite simple there. And that's the way that would go. And I have a screw I put in here. I'll put that in after I get it wired in. And you see our ground wire going to the ground of the whole layout. Everything's grounded to the central ground. So I put a wire here and run it through there. This will be filled with gravel, so you won't see it. Plus, from standing off the side, you can't see over the rails anyway, so you won't see any of that. All right, so let's wire it in and go from there. Here's a real quick shot, and this is zoomed in, and I'll show you why I had to extend the wires. So underneath here, underneath the track, this is the regular view, and the wires are way back there. Now you see why I needed to extend them, and those are the existing wires right there for the switch. The wires that's loose right there are going to the isolated rails. So as you can tell, I am prepared to wire this in, and we'll get back to it after we have it in.